Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the 5,377th meeting of the Rotary Club of San Jose. We have quite a crowd with us today. I'd like to thank the greeting line, which was, of course, all of our red badgers, or many of our red badgers. It was wonderful to see all of you lined up like that, practically heading into this room. And that group is, of course, being led right now by Kathleen Thomas and Matt Breaker. So thank you for being new members of Rotary. So a couple of quick announcements as we start. As many people who are in this room right now, it's not as many as it could be because our ski committee, chaired by Cindy Faulkner, they're off to Aspen today. What a great day for them to travel. 40 of them will be enjoying a week of skiing. So we can be feeling a little FOMO, but they're going to feel FOMO for not being here today. And, you know, it's always fun to celebrate our monthly birthdays, but it's even more fun when they actually happen on the day of a meeting. And we have 4 Rotarians that I'm aware of who have birthdays today in no order of age or importance. I'd like to wish a happy birthday to Rod Diridon Sr., Matt Breaker, Ray Castaneda, and Emily Robin. Happy birthday to you all, and happy birthday to everyone who has a birthday this month. Okay, because we have so many people here, we are going to skip introductions, but we do have a couple of quick presentations. Could we get a microphone over to Herbir here at the front row, and then get another one poised for Dave? So Herbir right here. Oh, wait, sorry, I didn't have the Red Badgers introduce themselves. That's how discombobulated I am. Please introduce yourselves, starting with you, Sharad.
Yeah, hi, this is Sharad. I recently joined Rotary Club like a couple months ago, and my sponsor is Sarah Klesch. Thank you, Sarah.
Great, Sharad.
Hi, my name is Desiree Escobar. My sponsor was Rod Diridon.
Okay, you're in good company. All right, now if we could get a microphone to Herbir.
Just first of all, I feel like again I'm here and I'm at this point becoming a pseudo member of your club. But firstly, thank you for everybody that came to our Ukraine benefit that thankfully your club and your board approved to allow us to have it here and allowed us to do really great things. And I want to highlight a few people. Could I please just have all the members of the AV team stand? Because without them, this was not possible. I can't see everybody in the back. So there's Brian.
We got Brian. We got Mike.
Okay, I don't see John. But
John's over
oh,
here.
there he is. And I also want to thank Matt, if he's here. Matt Robin, are you here? He's on vacation. He was done with me and he went. I want to thank Ravinder Lal. Please stand. And then Steve Borgenhagen. He's here somewhere. And then Sal. And then where is Leslie? Without these guys, we could not have pulled this off. It is so critical that, without your support and us working together as various Rotary clubs, we can really make impact. So for them, I have gifts, but we have a short amount of time, so I will pass this back and give the gifts afterwards. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Herbir. And we have Dave Peterson.
Hello, everybody. Thanks again. You heard about Interact just a little bit ago, but I thought it would be great if we could invite one of the high schools to join us. And so today, I have the pleasure of introducing the advisor for the school at Santa Teresa High School, Miss Deborah Demas, and 3 of their club members, that one of which will give a presentation. I first want to introduce Kylie Nguyen, who is a junior this year and actually raising funds on her own to go to the Rotary International Conference, as she is also an Interact District 5170 events coordinator for them. So thank you, Kylie, for joining us. Graduating senior Viviana Serrano is a member of the board there at Santa Teresa High School and involved in their event coordination and work that she does for those students. And the club president, Miss Emily Duong, who's going to give a few words.
Hello, my name is Emily Young, this year's president, and I'm here on behalf of Santa Teresa's Interact. Dave has already introduced my board, so I'll just go ahead and skip that for now. But this year, we have been focused on rebuilding our connection with our members and building genuine relationships. To achieve this, we've hosted over 30 bonding and service events, including letters to veterans, sandwich making, and dog toy making. Fun fact, we've donated over 1,500 sandwiches to our local soup kitchen to help the homeless center this year. We have accumulated over 3,000 service hours and have hosted 5 fundraisers, including an ice skating fundraiser and releasing our own student-produced club merch. Our members have gone above and beyond, and actually this year's Fall Leadership Conference, our school has been able to host or bring the most members in our entire district with over 50 members attending. And as leaders, my board hopes to continue to give support to our 423 general members to give them opportunities to give back to our community. Thank you, San Jose Rotary and Dave, for helping us achieve all these possibilities and opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you. And Brian, they've got a couple of slides. Can we put those up? Oh, we need John. Okay. Because I want to show the pictures of them doing some of their work here. I could start singing, but and I'm okay. So there we go. So you got their first semester recap. You can see them working, directly contributing to projects through Martha's Kitchen. As a proud Santa Teresa High School grad myself, I'm thrilled to see these saints doing good work in the community. Thank you, Dave, for bringing them today. Okay, next up, we've got a new member introduction. I'd like to call up Tim Gill to introduce our newest Rotarian. Tim, come on up.
Good afternoon, my fellow Rotarians. I've known David Heindel for over 20 years. We live in the same neighborhood in Almaden Valley. Our kids were on the swim team and lifeguards at Shadowbrook Swim Club, where David just finished his 3-year term as Homeowners Association president. Did a great job. Here's some fun facts about David. His love for sailing began at age 9 when his parents sent him to sailing camp in Cape Cod every summer until he was off to college. David grew up in northern New Jersey, and from his upstairs window, if he stood on his tippy toes, he could see the Empire State Building 12 miles away. David's first job after graduating from Georgia Tech was as an engineer on an oil platform in the North Sea off Scotland. Go Yellow Jackets. I'm sure you all knew about that. But
still in my lines right now.
David's son, Jake, was a 2015 Lee Weimer's Emerging Artist Award winner, and who currently is a videographer with the San Jose Sharks. David owns a business in downtown San Jose called Hotworks, and he'll tell you a little bit about that. I've known David a long time. He's a man with many opinions, ideas, but with a really big heart. Please welcome David Heindel.
Wow, thank you. Thank you. So Tim stole 3/4 of my speech, what I wrote, so I don't know what I'll say today, but I'll just start where I was supposed to start. Good afternoon. Of course, thank you for allowing me to join your group, and I want to really thank Tim and especially Sandra Gill for sponsoring my membership. I recently celebrated my 70th birthday, which has caused me to reflect on my 5 decades in the working world, where I've served in a broad variety of roles in public, nonprofit, and for-profit organizations. It's a long list and includes moving to San Jose to join the redevelopment agency under Frank Taylor, a name that I imagine some of you are familiar with. As Tim said, I'm a proud Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket civil engineering grad with a Cal Bear MBA. I was supposed to pause then. My current job, or also mentioned, is assisting my wife and daughter as they operate our Hotworks infrared therapy fitness studio just 4 blocks down Santa Clara Street. I'm allowed to do 2 shameless plugs, I'm sold, so if you haven't stopped by for your free trial workout, please do. Got you, darling. If you need a workout partner, you may want to grab Steve Borkenhagen, who told me last Wednesday, yes, he's finally ready to give us a try. I currently volunteer with the Downtown Parking Board at the District 10 Leadership Coalition, where I'm chair, and with the All District Leadership Group. As Tim mentioned, my family's lived in Almaden Valley for 25 years. Our son Jake graduated from Leland and LMU, and as he mentioned, if you attended the September 23, 2015 luncheon, you've already met him. He is now part of the San Jose Sharks film and video team on a road trip today, and they won last night. Our daughter Nora, a graduate of MIDI and Ole Miss, is our HotWorks general manager. And last but never least, my wife, Mary Jo, who's in the audience today, is the Director of Admissions and Outreach at Almaden Country Day School. When I'm not working or volunteering, you can find me working out at HotWorks, of course, hiking in Quicksilver Park, biking the Alamitos Creek Trail, or camping in Yosemite. And you might also bump into us at any local winery in Napa or Sonoma. And whenever possible, as Tim said, sailing on San Francisco Bay, which is my lifelong passion. Final shameless plug. I'm always looking for crew. I'm excited to join the Rotary and look forward to meeting everyone and learning your stories as we serve the San Jose community and those in need throughout the globe. Thank you.
All right, we have one more new member introduction. If I could ask Carl Salas to come up and please introduce our now newest member of the Rotary Club of San Jose.
Hey everyone, I met our newest Rotary member about 12 years ago. He was, through my wife, Marianne, he was actually a tenant of ours. And Marianne always used to say to me, Carl, that Jason, he's sort of quiet, but he's a terrific guy. You really should meet him sometime. So he moved out of our property, and about a year or so ago, he reached out to me and said, I'm retired now, and I'm interested in Rotary. So I finally took him to a meeting, and after that, he came to every meeting. I kept seeing him on one of the tables at every meeting, and so I'm really proud and pleased to be able to introduce him as our newest Rotary member today. Jason Kazarian was born and grew up in LA County. He spent 14 years in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and he moved to San Jose 10 years ago. He is married to Renee Femster and has 2 adult children who live in Oklahoma and Texas. He received his MS degree in computer science from the University of Texas at Dallas, and that was after receiving a BS in computer science from Cal State Dominguez Hills. Hello? Is anybody listening? I'll donate $200 to the foundation in your name if anybody can say go. That's 100. So Jason's professional career was, it's Go Toros, by the way, just for the record. His professional career was software and product development, product management, project marketing, and sales engineering. He accomplished that over 35 years in high-tech, defense, telecommunications, and nonprofit. He retired in April of 2022 and is now pursuing his hobbies, which are interesting: bicycling, I like, collecting film cameras, and collecting watches. He also cooks and really enjoys walking. He also has season tickets to the local opera, symphony, and theater companies. He has a lovely wife, Renee, and they live downtown here. And as he tells me, we are busy enjoying our second act. Before I bring him up, I should tell you that he's already joined the photography committee. You may have even seen him taking some photos already. And he also joined the Youth Exchange Committee. The best thing about him is when I asked him for information to kind of fill in the bio, he said, just tell them I'm looking forward to supporting Rotary's primary mission, service above self. So please, if any of them need help, just ask. I'm really proud to present our newest Rotarian, Jason Kazarian.
Carl, has it really been 12 years? Oh my gosh, time goes fast when you're having fun. The most successful answer to the question, hey Jason, do you know anything about blah, is not yes or no. It's maybe, what do you need? And then usually I get a little bit longer explanation, and 9 times out of 10, I say, hey, well, maybe we should try this instead. Do you think that'll work? And the answer to that question is yes. So I do believe in service above self, and please, just ask. Thank you.
All right, love bringing in new members, but also love hearing about what our members are doing. So right now I'd like to ask Catherine Cook to come up here and talk to us, give us an update on the Tanzania project. Catherine.
And how do I change this?
There.
Perfect. Good afternoon. My name is Catherine Cook, and I was a member of this club for about 5 years until my recent move to Park City, Utah. As a member of the International Service Committee, I spearheaded several projects in Africa and Haiti that our club has supported, both as an organization and by individual Rotarians. It is my great honor to share these stories with you today. The best way for me to introduce Mercy Beyond Borders and Sister Marilyn, the founder and executive director, is via this PSA, which was filmed in partnership with Create TV and the Heritage Bank of Commerce. I would like to thank Celeste Drake, who invited Mercy Beyond Borders to participate. That's the beginning. Yeah, it's supposed to be embedded in there.
Okay, well, you're going to find out.
Hello, my name is Sister Marilyn. I'm the founder of Mercy Beyond Borders. Mercy Beyond Borders lifts up women and girls from extreme poverty in challenging places. The mountains of Haiti, villages of South Sudan and Malawi, and the refugee camps of East Africa. If you traveled with me to those places, you'd be shocked at the poverty, but even more so by the oppression of females. You've heard of human trafficking, I'm sure, a form of slavery. In South Sudan, it's the norm for girls at puberty to be forcibly married to old men. If the girl resists, she is whipped unconscious. The bravest girls run away, scared but desperate. We support and educate them in safe boarding schools from elementary all the way through university. And you can help these young girls grow from a villager to a valedictorian, from mud huts to medical degrees. Why should you care? Because we're all interconnected, and what happens over there affects us here. Countries that oppress females spread conflict and migration, and when more girls like Vina become educated, their homelands will stabilize, making all of us safer too. Check out our photos and stories, mercybeyondborders.org. Join me. Help these girls rise and thrive. Thank you. I'd also like to introduce Sister Marilyn and Lizzie, who are both here from Mercy Beyond Borders today. The International Service Committee has generously sponsored 2 projects benefiting MBB. In 2021, we provided funding for clothing as well as hygiene and gardening supplies at St. Bakita School in South Sudan. The second project was for laptops and computer training in the remote town of Gromorn, Haiti. Next, Focus on Tanzanian Communities is a nonprofit that works in 4 areas: education, health, water, and women's empowerment. To that end, the International Service Committee supported 3 projects in Tanzania, 2 at Haimu Primary School and 1 for women entrepreneurs. The first project was building latrines, and the second provided a water supply to the school and community. The water project was a joint collaboration between our club and Rotary International via a global grant. This photo is of the students in front of the water tank in the garden where they are now growing food.
The global grant process had a few challenges along the way, but in the end was a success due to the determination of several San Jose Rotarians and the International Service Committee. I would like to thank the committee, headed up by Tim Gill, for their patience as we worked through the global grant. Special thanks also go to Kathleen Thomas for her work on the grant, Leslie Hamilton for not allowing us to throw in the towel when we were tempted to do so, and Karen Sununu-Towery for encouraging me to go after our first global grant in over a decade, as well as her aptly naming the global grant the Gum on My Shoe project. It took several years to get the grant completed, but now the school and community have a plentiful water supply for washing, drinking, and growing their own food. This is 100% because of Rotary. Pictured are 2 Rotarians from the Arusha Rotary Club who were also instrumental in getting the grant completed. The committee also provided funding for training and supplies for women entrepreneurs in Tanzania, specifically for their beading, tanning, and beekeeping businesses. These businesses allow them to both provide for their families as well as gain independence. Finally, the Christopher Halloran School. The short version of the backstory is that my brother Chris died in 2015 from melanoma, leaving me grief-stricken beyond anything I was prepared for. His death was certainly not the first in my life, but one of the things that came sharply into focus was how important it is to honor our loved ones' lives and legacies. Chris loved Tanzania and believed deeply in the power of education and the inherent right of every person to have access to it. And so the concept of the Christopher Halloran School was born. After 3 years of fundraising, planning, building, and dodging COVID, the school is now up and running, and I finally made the trip to Africa to see it this past October. Located in northern Tanzania, just outside the Serengeti, the Christopher Halloran School serves the Maasai people in the Orkieni community. The school now has a state-of-the-art dining hall that also serves as a meeting place for the community, an event center for celebrations and gatherings. There is a new kitchen, borehole, and a massive water tank, so the students and staff always have access to clean, healthy water. Projects for 2023 include providing a flush toilet for the staff, fencing around the school to keep out both wild animals and livestock, and teachers' housing. They are currently living in the dining hall. All of these projects are funded and are underway. Once those projects are complete, we will build 4 new classrooms and 2 new dormitories. These projects are not yet funded. This past year, the International Service Committee sponsored 35 desks. There we go, 35 desks for the students at the school, for which I am profoundly grateful. I also need to thank the Rotarians listed on the screen for their personal contributions to the school, without which this dream of mine would not have come true. I am still basking in the welcome I received at the school in October, with the entire community gathered to express their deep gratitude. As we were leaving the campus, a young Maasai boy came up to me and grabbed me around the legs. I bent down to ask him his name and give him a hug. He looked up at me with the most mischievous grin and the most beautiful brown eyes and whispered, "I'm Chris." Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing the results of that project with us, Catherine. And as far as I'm concerned, you may be in Utah, but you're always a member here. Okay, next we've got a Taste of San Jose, bringing this back, introducing you once again to one of the great local eateries we have in our city. And there might be a little something in it for you if you have the answer to a question. So today we're going to talk about, oh, well, let me ask a question first. This isn't the question that'll get you something. What is the best bakery in San Jose? That's Brian Adams. He knows what he's talking about. So we're going to talk about Peter's Bakery today. So if you notice, it's Peter's Bakery is on Alum Rock Avenue. The apostrophe is after the S because it was started not by a man named Peter, but by a man named Peters, Tony Peters. He opened it on San Carlos and Delmas in 1936. The one on Alum Rock Avenue opened a couple of years later. Currently, it's run by his grandson, Cap, and his wife, Cassie. And of course, their specialty is their burnt almond cake. Is there a relationship, people have wondered, between Peter's Bakery and Dick's Bakery, which is burned in a fire and has never come back? Yes, that Peter's original bakery was bought by Richard Soda, who then renamed it Dick's Bakery and kept selling all the same things. And they eventually moved to Meridian. So that's the connection between the two. And as I said, their specialty is burnt almond cake. You can see a nice little heart-shaped one there. But did you know they also make burnt almond cupcakes? It's true. Did you know I happen to have some right here? So as I say, I'm looking for a fairly full table since there's 12 of them, and you might have friends, but, oh, and those guys in the back over there too, okay. Who wants them? You know, I'm going Michelle Loxton, but you got to answer the question. No. And I think she'll be sharing it with people. So for our Rotary Gala, it's March 25th. Our fundraising goal is $200,000. Just announced last week, who is our presenting sponsor? Okay. You can't win back there at that table for a specific. I know. Have you phoned a friend? Do you have an answer? Sherrod, can you help her out? Yep. What is the name of our presenting sponsor? It is Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty. Sherrod, as a thank you, can you take these and perhaps share one with Michelle? So tickets will be on sale soon, and we'll have more sponsor information rolling in. So before we get to our speaker, a couple of quick things. Remember, we've got the Axe Throwing Fun and Friendship event coming up on March 26th. There's still plenty of room. I'll be going. It's going to be a lot of fun. And especially with our Santa Teresa crew here, on May 20th, we're going to be doing a Rise Against Hunger packing event. We're going to try to pack 13,000 meals. Friends and family who are 10 years or older are welcome to help us out. And right now it's scheduled for block construction. We're confirming that. If you volunteer, you can get a nice Rotary t-shirt. This is Helen Lambert's idea, and we're finally getting it done. So you'll get a Rotary t-shirt if you volunteer. We'll be sending out more information, including a form for t-shirt sizes. So now I'd like to introduce Your Honor, Jim Towery, to come up and introduce our speaker.
So on January 19th, Jeff Rosen was sworn in for his 4th term as the district attorney of our county, a position that causes him to be in charge of over 600 employees, including 190 attorneys. Jeff, a graduate of UCLA and of University of California at Berkeley Law School. I was paused that. I was certain we had at least one Berkeley representative in the class. Quickly developed a reputation as a reform-oriented district attorney. That is a reputation that has spread nationwide. Let me give you just a couple of examples why he merits that description. One of the things that Jeff did when he was elected was he resumed the cold case unit, where the resources are put to solve unsolved crimes. In addition, he started the nationwide first conviction integrity unit, where the deputies look back and determine whether or not there was any misconduct leading to conviction. He is a strong believer in diversion for low-level offenses. And one anecdote I can tell you about Jeff that speaks very much to his values is that he has taken his senior staff to Los Angeles to visit the Tolerance Museum there with special reference to trying to understand the basis of hate crimes and hate speech. So I give him great kudos for that. On a personal level, Jeff is married. His spouse, Amber, is a colleague of mine. She is a Superior Court judge, now hearing civil cases. Jeff and Amber have two lovely daughters, Nomi and Rachel. I thought that it would be hard to find a flaw for Jeff, but I did discover one. In his spare time, he roots for the Green Bay Packers. Nobody's perfect. Please join me in welcoming Jeff Rosen.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be with all of you here today. And I asked myself, when Jim asked me to come and speak to Rotary and to speak about bail, I sort of was thinking, why do they want me to speak about bail at Rotary? And then it occurred to me. So I know you have the big fancy Rotary Gala coming up in March, but I've gone to the spring barbecue at History Park many times, as I'm sure many of you have. There's alcohol served there. There's, the nice barbecue dinner. And then as the sun goes down, the Dove ice cream bars come out. And I was there a year when there weren't enough Dove ice cream bars. And I saw some Rotarians, I'm not going to name names, kind of scuffling over the last Dove ice cream bar. And so I think that the reason for this presentation is people want to know, if I mix it up with somebody at the spring barbecue, am I going to spend a night in jail, or am I going to be able to bail out? So what we'll talk about this morning is a little bit about the history of bail. Secondly, where we are today with bail and pretrial detention. Number three, where we really want to be, where we're trying to go. And then fourth is a segment, You Make the Call. So for those of you that watched football in the 70s and 80s and 90s, sometimes on the weekend they'd have a segment. There was a play, and the referee, before the referee made the call, they would say to the people watching on TV, "You make the call." So at the end, we'll have a few examples, and I'll let you make the call. I know we have some judges here as well. So, do I advance the slides? Which is fine. I'm happy to do that. Got it. No? I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, super. Okay, to detain or not to detain, that is the question. So a little bit about the history of bail. It comes to us from England, and originally it's meant really as a means of settling disputes peacefully. The accused person was required to find someone to serve as their surety who agreed to pay in case the person fled. That's where it started. In the United States, the Eighth Amendment prohibited excessive bail. The Judiciary Act of 1789 established bail, meaning the right to bail, the right to be released after you've been charged with the crime in all but capital cases. When this was written, capital cases would mean death penalty cases. The federal law preserves that very strong presumption of pretrial release. So we're going to, as we go through this presentation, there's two important and competing values. One is pretrial release, a strong presumption in favor of pretrial release for someone accused, not yet convicted, accused of a crime, number one. Number two, protecting the public from individuals that are dangerous. And as we'll see, sometimes those values are in conflict and are in tension. Then, so that was the federal law, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the differences between what happens in California and what happens federally. In California, there's something called commercial bail, and that was invented right here in the Bay Area in San Francisco, the nation's first commercial bail bonds firm, located near the Hall of Justice. And just to keep in mind, there's the saloon, and next to the saloon is the bail bonds company. Okay, so good. I know someone from HotWorks was talking about marketing and so forth. So this was really ahead of its time kind of marketing. Massive corruption in the bail industry. This commercial bail firm was closed, but they were able to hold on to their liquor license. Some foundational bail principles. The United States Supreme Court 1951, the Constitution unequivocally requires bail. It allows for the unhampered preparation of a defense and prevents punishment prior to conviction. And this is an important bedrock of our criminal justice system. Unless the right to bail, and by here what they mean is release, before trial is preserved, the presumption of innocence, secured only after centuries of struggle, would lose its meaning. So very strong view from the founding of our country about the right to being released before trial. And that particular case, again, it was involving people accused of being communists and charged with a conspiracy. Bail's meant to anchor people, holding the defendant in place. It's not a punishment, it's not a pretext, and it's got to be no more than calculated to achieve this end. It's about managing risk. Okay. Now, so what we've heard a lot is right to pretrial release, innocence, presumption of innocence before being convicted. And then beginning here, we start to see for the first time in the federal system, preventative detention permitted for defendants charged with certain serious felonies if the government can show no combination of conditions to protect the public, right? So we have, on the one hand, the value of being released and before your trial, you're presumed to be innocent, to plan your defense. And now, the other very important value, protecting the public. California Constitution, there's two different sections that deal with bail. And if you ask me, do you have a right to bail in California? I would say yes and no. That's the best way I can really answer that. But this section that I want to highlight was passed by voters to amend the California Constitution in the early 2000s. And I think what's crucial here, public safety and the safety of the victim shall be the primary considerations for judges in setting bail, reducing, or denying bail if there's no other conditions to protect the public. And a person can be released on their own recognizance or supervised release. And again, the judge is instructed to look at, can this person, is it safe to release this person to the public? So that's sort of like kind of the history. And we're getting to where we are and where we need to be. So the former California Supreme Court Justice, Tani Kantil-Sakaui, and I've met her, so that's why I know how to pronounce her name. She, before she stepped down, made the following points that I very much agree with. The current bail system we have in California with commercial bail, it unnecessarily compromises public and victim safety, number one. It should be replaced by a system that's just based on the defendant's risk to the public or risk of not appearing in court. And we should use risk assessment tools, which I'll talk about in a moment, to help judges make these decisions. And again, presumptive release, the presumption is that somebody should be released from custody, but this allows for a small number of people to be detained because they're too much of a risk. Now, I want to just say a word about how I feel about bail, about commercial bail. I'm not a fan of it. And I think that introducing this kind of private sector profit incentive into the criminal justice system is not helpful. So what I mean by that is the system we have in California allows someone to go, if a bail amount is set, they can go to a bail bondsman and say, well, the bail was $100,000, and the bondsman will say, if you give me $5,000 or $10,000, I'll post the bond and you can be released. And then if that person doesn't come back to court, the bail bondsman is on the hook for that $100,000 unless the bail bondsman can find that person. And so that last piece about the bail bondsman finding that person then leads to, television shows of Duck the Bounty Hunter and private citizens running around with guns and handcuffs, capturing people and putting them in the back of trucks and bringing them, across state lines. So I'm not a fan of that system. And in fact, the bail system, the system I would like to have is something we really already have in the federal system. In the federal system, essentially, if you're too dangerous to be released, you're held in custody. And if you can be safely released, you are released. They sometimes use bail in the federal system, but it's more how much can the person afford, because we think they are safe to release. We use bail differently in California, and I'll explain that in a moment. So one of the things that I'm very proud of, and we should all be proud of in our county, is we were for probably 30 years the only county in the state to have a pretrial services department that would monitor individuals that were released from custody. So pretrial services department is sort of like a probation department, which monitors people after they've been convicted of crimes. This is monitoring people while they're being charged with the crime, but they're released into the community and making sure that that person is abiding by all their conditions of release. So this is something that we have done for 40 years. It's the gold standard before the gold standard, and it's something that other counties are starting to do, and it's something that I certainly support. I'll go through this. Well, I can go through this more slowly for those of you going to the spring barbecue, and we're going to want to know, how it works. So in our county, within 24 hours of being arrested, you're going to be interviewed by somebody from pretrial services. There'll be a risk assessment. I'll show you what that looks like in a moment. Usually you're seen by pretrial services within 8 hours, and we try to alert inmates to wait before posting any kind of bail because most people are going to be released. So I said there's a very strong presumption in favor of release. So every year, to illustrate that, every year in our county, we prosecute in the DA's office anywhere from, say, 30 to 34,000 cases per year. The population of our jail currently is roughly 2,600 people. So just, right, you just go, oh, so the vast majority of people are being released, are safe to release. A small number need to be held in custody. Here's the risk assessment tool. It looks at things that you would expect. FTA is failure to appear. NCA is new criminal action. NVCA, new violent criminal action. Right. So if you were the judge, if you were the referee, and you were trying to figure out whether it was safe to release someone from custody, right? Because the California Constitution says, judge, your number one focus here in deciding whether to release someone is, are they a danger to the public? That's what you should focus on. Understanding there is a presumption that that most people are safe to release, but you should be looking at, are they dangerous? Are they a flight risk? So you would look at how old is the person when they committed the crime? What is the crime they've committed? What's their past criminal history? What type of crime have they committed? Was a gun involved? These kinds of questions. And this risk assessment tool, sort of just think of it as kind of the collected, this was normed for our county. So it's based on hundreds of thousands of individuals that have come through our criminal justice system over the last 30 or 40 years. And who were the people that reoffended when they were released? What did they reoffend for? So this is a tool to help the judge make that decision. Doesn't make the decision for the judge. The judge ultimately will decide whether the person can be released. If they can, what those conditions are. And if they can't, the judge will decide that. Okay. The system that I would like to have that we're moving towards slowly is one where we don't talk about bail at all. We just talk about whether someone is dangerous or not, which is what they do in the federal system. But currently, we still sometimes use bail in our county. And there's a bail schedule. Okay. Here's the bail schedule. I should have put here something for like stealing a Dove bar, I think, and what that would be. So a lot of times you'll hear in the news zero bail. There's a zero bail schedule, and what is that all about? So the bail schedule is in some sense like the risk assessment tool back here. it's a tool for the judge. It's a suggestion that if the judge is going to set bail, and here's examples of charges, this is the suggestion. But the judge has the ultimate authority to decide whether to set the bail higher or lower, or whether to have bail at all. So here's what currently happens in our county. Someone is in court, there's the prosecutor, defense attorney, the judge. Let's say the person has been arrested for burglary, and the judge says, well, what looks at the risk assessment tool, which gives a score as to the likelihood of the person committing a crime when they've been released, high, medium, or low, and then says to the defense attorney, what do you think we should do here? The defense attorney says, release. I'm not being like critical. That's generally what the defense attorney says. And in this case, the prosecutor might say, well, for this, and this reason, judge, I think this person should be detained. No bail in this case. And we'll give some examples. Too much danger to the public, too much of a danger not to return to court. The judge might agree, and no bail. The person's detained. Judge may disagree and say, no, I don't know about that. I think I'm going to set bail in this case. DA, what bail would you like set? Well, we've just said we think the person is too dangerous to be released. So when we will then say, so we're going to ask for a very high amount of bail because we don't want the person released. That's why we're asking for that. Take this same case. Defense attorney says release. Judge says to the DA, what's your position? Judge, we think the person can be safely released with certain conditions. Okay, what are the conditions you'd like? Conditions are usually, it might be a stay away order, it might be an ankle monitor or a GPS bracelet to know where the person is. It might be requiring drug classes, mental health services. We think the person's safe to release under those circumstances. We're not going to say bail because we don't think money should be a part of that. So the only time we are asking for bail is we want the person held. That's why we're asking for it, because the judge disagreed. Now, here's the problem. We have a pretrial services department, but still, even in our county, we're relying, in my view, too much on using bail and this bail schedule. I think that using bail penalizes poor people because all of this money that's paid to the commercial bail bondsman is millions and millions of dollars each year that are coming from primarily working class communities of color in our county, and this is true everywhere in the country, and those millions and millions of dollars are being paid to a commercial bail bonds person. So I don't think that money should be part of this. I think it's the wrong question. It's like, how much does a person have, as opposed to, is this person dangerous or not? It favors the affluent, right? We have dangerous people in our county who are also very wealthy. And if you say, well, we'll just set bail at $1 million, well, you can post a house that's $1 million. If you can find $1 million house in our county, okay? I mean, I know it's more expensive than that. So it's focusing on wealth and not the public safety or justice piece. So here's the goal, and I think this is what both the founders of the country, our former Supreme Court Justice, and certainly the direction I'd like to see us go. Presumptive release, 30,000 criminal cases a year, more than 90% of the people can and are being safely released, often with some kind of monitoring, an ankle bracelet, a stay away order, other conditions. I don't want to talk about money in terms of this. The vast majority of defendants can be safely released with non-financial conditions. That's an ankle monitor or stay away order, those kinds of things. And if public safety, including the person's appearance in court, can be managed without non-financial conditions, then release the person with those conditions, but not cash bail. In appropriate cases, a small number of cases where the defendant presents a real danger to the public or a danger of not coming back to court, then detain. No money, just detained. So none of this is there a role for cash bail. Now it's time for a segment. You make the call. Okay? You make the call. Right? On Sundays, the referee throws the flag. What is it? Is it a touchdown, an interception, a fumble? What is it? So to detain or not detain. Here's the case. June 2020, defendant arrested for misdemeanor domestic violence. Earlier, January 2020, convicted for felony domestic violence, same victim. 2019, arrested for kidnapping and resisting arrest from police. Don't know what happened to that case. This is, I'm not going to give the names, but this is a real case. I mean, if you're the person involved, you may want to get up and walk out now. Okay. 2011, same defendant, convicted of felony assault, sent to prison. And then 2007, convicted, another misdemeanor domestic violence, different victim. Now, whenever you see this ... okay, so here's what happened. Released. Unfortunately, very unfortunately, several months later, stabbed 5 people at a church not far from here, 2 fatally. Okay, not very I want to say not easy to obviously predict a result like that, but something very concerning. Another example, defendant facing a life sentence for multiple counts of child molestation to 9-year-old girls. Often, when someone is facing a life sentence, the DA's office, we will ask for pretrial detention. We'll ask for the person to be detained. They're facing a life sentence. They have great motivation to flee, and it's a very serious charge. Okay, this case, okay, released over our objection with GPS, the ankle monitor. Arrested in another county for 11,550 as being under the influence of drugs, a misdemeanor, and giving a fake name. So now the person was brought back to our county, and we said, detain, released again, cut off the GPS, and fled, caught 2 years later, detained. Okay? Last case, or no, 2 more cases. 2021, used a gun, pointed a gun at a victim, threatened to kill them. We're very, in the DA's office, we're very focused on guns. When people use guns in committing crimes, we will almost always be asking for that person to be detained. There's just tremendous damage from firearms. Prior robbery conviction in prison. Released, okay? These are unusual examples because in most of the examples like this, the person is held. So I don't want you to walk away thinking all of these seriously violent and dangerous individuals are being released. No, vast majority of cases, people like this are released, unfortunately not always. Arrested again for guns and drugs, and being a prior felon, not allowed to have a gun, arrested for that, released again. I mean, I'm saying it in a straightforward way, but we were very concerned about this. And then arrested again for attempted murder and carjacking on someone else, detained. Okay. Last example, 2021, somebody might be able to guess this case. Defendant charged with 39 offenses involving 15 minors, including 12 counts of felony child endangerment. While in jail, defendant called one of the minors and urged the minor not to cooperate. Spoiler alert, if you are in jail after the Rotary barbecue, we listen to your conversations on the phone. We're allowed to do that. While in jail, defendant called spouse, hide the assets, and separately, defendant charged with embezzlement from their company. I think it was Hotworks was the company in this case. Sorry to say that. Okay. This case, detained. This individual is detained. This was what was called the Los Gatos party mom case, and she was detained. So, before I take some questions, what I would say is, I think that for somebody that is gets a little physical at the spring barbecue and takes a Dove bar, I think that's somebody we can probably release with conditions. Maybe a stay away order from the box of Dove bars might be the first stay away order. But that's essentially how we are trying not to use bail in our county, but trying to go to a system where either you're dangerous and you're held, or you're not and you're released, and most people are safely released. Thank you.
So we've got time for a couple of questions, but you're making our barbecue sound much more exciting than I recall. Let's see, who's first? Okay, we got back here. Let's start with Steve Ellenberg.
Jeff, good to see you. Thanks for coming. I'm a little disappointed in Towery for taking over the introduction job. You missed out. So my question is, during the last mayoral campaign and actually during his I believe it was during his inauguration, our current mayor complained vociferously that the same folks are being released and are committing the same crimes over and over again. Can you help us understand why those people, those whatever, how many, are not being detained or presumably, I think those people probably couldn't afford any bail.
Yeah.
So could you explain that?
So I have talked to the mayor about that issue that he spoke about during his State of the City address. And I just for frame of reference, I don't want people to walk away with a misimpression, or as George Kennedy used to say, a misperception of facts. The vast majority of people that are arrested and prosecuted, charged with crimes, are not held in jail and are safely released, do not commit other crimes, make their court appearances. That's the vast majority. But it's a human system. It's not a perfect system. And there are people, a small number, that have been repeatedly released who then don't come to court or commit other crimes, some incredibly serious, small number incredibly serious like I showed you, but others not as serious, but still very concerning. I guess I would just say that I think that the pendulum of people's feeling of safety is moving in the direction where more people will be incarcerated for repeated offenses than before. That's my sense. I mean, believe me, I don't tell the judges what to do. I don't tell judges what to do here. I don't tell them what to do when I go home, you know? But I do think that the judges are people like everyone else who live in the community. And what I have seen over the last year or two are fewer egregious examples like the kind I showed you. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Okay. Another question?
Richard
Jeff, first, and then.
Out of curiosity, do other developed nations have cash bail systems like we do?
That's a very good question. The only one that I think probably had one was England, because that's where we got the system that we have. But I'm not aware of another country that does it. I haven't researched it deeply, but I'm pretty confident that our private sector kind of cash bail system is uniquely American, you know, sort of kind of inserting capitalism and the profit incentive into this part of the criminal justice system is something that really only we've done. But it may be the case that other countries use bail and financial sureties sort of the way that it was used in the federal system. It was used in England, meaning, yeah, we're going to release this person. They don't have a lot of money. What would be a lot of money to them? $100. So they put up $100 and they put it up with the court. So then when they make their court appearances, they get that money back at the end. See, that's what's different. In the federal system, if the judge decides you can be released, but you're going to have to put up $500,000 or whatever it is, the court holds that, and then you get that back at the end. Whereas under the bail system that we have, the bail bondsman gets 10% or 5% or whatever they do, and that's a lot of money that's being made.
Okay, last quick question and quick
Yeah,
answer.
quickly, let's say you have a judge that repeatedly violates the values that you're trying to impose, and rightfully so. Do you have the ability to censor or remove that judge? And can you briefly explain that process?
Okay, so if there's a judge that I think, and I am saying I because what I'm going to describe is a decision that only I make in the office to not have our cases heard in front of a judge. So the legal mechanism is called filing a 170.6 challenge. It means we're saying we don't think the judge can be fair to the prosecution on this particular case. So in rare circumstances, we do that. An example of where we would do it is if we have a judge. I didn't say the names purposely of any of these judges. They're all different judges in these examples. If it was all the same judge that did these things, then we would have filed a 170.6 challenge after the first or second time this happened, saying we don't think that the judge can be fair to us on this particular case. And while there's 200 prosecutors in the DA's office, the decision of whether we're going to say that we don't think a judge can be fair on a case is a very serious decision, and I make that decision because the vast majority of our judges, we're perfectly happy to be in front of. I think that our judges reflect our community in the sense that some of the judges are more to the left, some are in the middle, some are more towards the right, which is what our community looks like. And that 170.6 challenge is really where a judge, in my view, has strayed beyond what the community norms are.
Thank you very much, District Attorney Rosen. A donation is being made on your behalf to History of San Jose, which preserves the heritage of our city, including its judicial heritage, I believe. So thank you. And next week, I know you have to get going, so. Okay. Yes. So next week, as you know, this year my theme has been Let the Good Times Roll. We've been doing that. Next week is the last meeting we have before Mardi Gras, which, if you don't know, is February 21st. So we're going to have a special meal from Poorhouse Bistro, like we did for my first meeting. So be sure to sign up early if you can, so we can get a proper head count. Hope you can all make it. This week, please remember to bus your tables to help our staff out, get this room clean as fast as possible. We're still doing validations downstairs at the gate. And next week's speaker is David Louie from KGO, who recently retired. So we're going to hear a lot of fun media TV stories. So that's it for this week, and let the good times roll.